welcome back to Accounting 101. We are going to move forward from where we had analyzed the transactions to now actually preparing these journal entries. In doing this, we do have one more step that we have to look at. We really have to know what is our debit, what is our credit. We always list our debits first, our credits will always go second, and we do have the debit and the credit columns here for what we will be working on. When we do look at the journal entries, we do have to determine which account is a debit, which account is a credit, and that is going to go back to those normal balances and what's happening with the normal balances. So when we look at the first one, we are looking at cash. Cash is an asset and it is increasing. If you remember correctly, that our assets do increase on that left side, which means that they will be a debit. For capital, it is increasing. Capital increases on the right side, and that means that it will be our credit. Now there is a cheat when we have cash involved that you can use. And so the first question you want to ask when you're looking at a transaction is cash involved? And if cash is involved and the answer there is yes, that cash is involved, you can look and see, well, what's happening to cash? In this case, cash is going up, so that means that it will go on top. The thing to always remember about debits and credits is debits always go first, they're always going to be on top, which means our credits will always be on the bottom. So in this particular case, cash is involved, it is increasing, so it would be on top. So I would come in and I would list my cash account, and it is for $150,000 in that debit column. Now, the next thing that I have to look at is that credit account. Now, when I look at the credit accounts, I have to remember that I have to indent over. Alright, so when you do a credit, it can't be lined up. Lining it up is not correct. Credits have to be indented over, so in this case the capital account is my credit account, so it will indent over, and the amount is going to be the $150,000 there also. For number 2, the business purchased land for $100,000 cash. So in this case, is cash involved? So we can use the cheats, cash involved, and the answer is yes. What's happening to cash? Well, it's going down. That means that the cash is going to be on the bottom as the credit. So I know I can come over, I can indent it over, put my cash down, and it was for the $100,000. Now, what is the other account? Well, that was land. And so land would have been increasing as an asset, which means that is going to be the account. So I could have gone through, I could have done the whole analysis and finished out and said, okay, assets increase, as a credit, assets increase as a debit, and I could have followed that. But if cash is involved, you can use that cheat, and you don't have to go through the whole analysis process. For number 3, we cannot use our cheat, because when we ask if cash is involved, the answer here is no, cash is not involved. So we can't use our cash cheat. So what we have to do is we actually have to look at this. We have to finish analyzing it. So for supplies, supplies is an asset. Assets increase on that left side. Remember, that's that left hand. Assets are that pinky finger. So it's left, and it will be a debit. Accounts payable is a liability. Liabilities increase on the right hand, that right side, and so that is going to be our credit account. So what I would have is I would list out my supplies account for $200. I then would have my credit being the accounts payable account. Notice I indented the account. Always indent those credit accounts. The next one that we have is that a business performs services to its customers, collects $900 in cash. So what we saw is that cash was increasing. And so here we can ask about cash. Is cash involved? Yes, it is. What's happening to the cash? Well, my cash balance is going up, which means that cash will be on the top. That is going to be my debit. So I could use the cheat there. Don't have to go through and analyze the rest of the account. That's really all the analysis that I have to do. Now, why is my cash going up? Well, I performed service. And remember, that is a revenue item. So that is service revenue. Again, notice that I did indent over when doing this particular account. So then I get to number 5. And let me move it up. When I get to number 5, what I am looking at here is a business pay salary expenses. So is cash involved in this one? Yes, it is. What's happening to my cash? Well, cash is going down. That means that my cheat says it's on the bottom as a credit. So now I can come in, I can indent over, put my cash in for that $4,000. Now why? Because it was a salary expense. Remember that when expenses increase, they increase on that left side. They are a debit. So it does follow exactly what it would have if I had done the entire analysis. Again, I don't have to because I do have my cash cheat. Number 6, a business performs services to its customers for $3,500 on account. Cash is not involved here. So since there is no cash, I do have to do the full analysis. So accounts receivable is an asset. Assets increase on that left side. Therefore, it is going to be our debit. Service revenue is a revenue. Revenues increase on the right side. So that is going to be the credit. So when I do this journal entry, I will have accounts receivable as my debit for $3,500, and I will have service revenue will be my credit for the $3,500. And so this is what that journalizing should look like whenever you're going in and doing journal entries. This is the basics where you have your debit account, you have your credit account, you have your debit amount, you have your credit amount. The only thing that I did not show you on this particular one was the actual date. If you had a date, what you would take and do is you would just list that date over to the side of that journal entry on that first line. And so that's pretty much what you would be looking at if you actually did have a date out there. We are going to continue the next video with 7 through 10 as far as journalizing goes.